Okay, it's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we've got a beer from Mikkeller Koppi. It is their Tomahawk and Guji Natural Coffee IPA, coming in at 6.9% ABV. There you go. White bottle cap. Before we get this open, I would like to thank the show's sponsors, DS Drinks, discount supermarket in Cardiff. Loads and loads of beer. It's like a beer cavern in there. Check them out on Twitter. There you go. It's at DS Cardiff Drinks, or ring them on that number. So many German beers in there. So many Belgian beers. Beers from all around the world. I've seen a Nigerian Guinness in there. Wonderful stuff. Beers from South Africa, beers from China, beers from everywhere, everywhere. Loads of Mikkeller in there, loads of new upcoming London breweries in there. They're really on the ball. So yeah, check out at DS Cardiff Drinks on Twitter. Okay, let's get on with this Mikkeller beer. So, beer in the glass. It's a coffee IPA. So, do you know, for a coffee IPA, an IPA is very golden in colour, coffee is very dark. So what is it going to look like? It's going to look like a standard best bitter, isn't it, to look at, in between them two colours. So, wow, look at that. Lovely amber. It's got a coffee look to it. It's got a kind of a brown colour there to it. Carbonation streaming up the side of the glass. It's a 3-finger, slightly off white head. Look at the kind of the way that beer sits in the glass, the conditioning, little bubbles rising up the side. Let's get a nose on this beer then. Interesting. Now, I've recently reviewed Surly. Is it Surly Brewing Company out in America? They did a phenomenal coffee beer. Absolutely fantastic. Knocked your socks off as soon as you put your nose to it. This one, much more subtle, much more subtle. It's like a chocolate coffee, like a cafe latte, something like that. Again, it's an IPA, so there's them IPA flavours of grapefruit and pine and mango. It smells good. I'm going to dig in. Cheers, everybody. Interesting brew. And amazingly, I love coffee, I love IPA. Put the two together, you'd think, nah, this wouldn't work. But it's quite subtle, the coffee, and the bitterness that comes through on the end from the hops is nice. It's chock full of hops. It's fruity, it's bitter, and it counteracts and balances that coffee to how it needs to be. It needs to be a balanced beer. It couldn't be mega IPA and mega coffee, because it would just knock your socks off, literally. But it's subtle, it's nice, cafe latte, then it moves over to being an IPA. It's drinkable. Let's get the mouthfeel. Oh, big mouthful of hops then. Lovely stuff. It would be just below a medium mouthfeel, so it's bordering, it's very drinkable, but it's bordering that nice luxurious kind of Danish, Swedish kind of way of a beer. But if this was a stout, I'm sure it would be one gloopy, thick beer. But it's not. It's meant to be an IPA. So they've moved away from that kind of mouthfeel being too big. But then, yeah, second mouthful, completely different drink. Bigger mouthful that time. Probably, if I take bigger mouthfuls, I'm going to get bigger flavours. So let's carry on. So, let me explain. As it's happening, coffee, bitterness, bitter coffee, chocolate, caramel. Now it's moving over to becoming an IPA. Them coffee flavours are dimming down. It's piney, it's citrusy. I'm breathing them lovely fruity, what can only be described as American hops. This beer somehow works. I wonder if Mr. Mikkeller woke up one morning after a heavy session, and he had some beer left over, an American IPA, where he's just fallen asleep in his chair, and he's woken up to this American IPA, and he's gone, actually I need a coffee. So he's gone to make himself a cup of coffee, and knowing Mr. Mikkeller, Mr. Experimental Mikkeller, he's got a glass and he's gone, right, bit of IPA, bit of coffee, what you get? Smelling it, tasting it, and he's gone, this might work. And it takes the bold brewer, it takes to think outside of the box, to do these crazy things, to brew these beers, and I'm all for it. Can you imagine working in a brewery where they brew the same 4 or 5 beers over centuries, and it's the same old thing? They go through 10 head brewers over 200 years or whatever it is, and it's still the beer it was 200 years ago, and it's still the same brewery. And yeah, this is young, it's new, it's dynamic. Mikkeller's been brewing for years, but it's fresh idea. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, it works great. Loads of coffee in a nose. Not so much IPA, more coffee. But there's a lot of coffee, but there's more IPA in the taste. There's never too much on the back of these bottles from Mikkeller, but it's www.mikkeller.dk, or it looks like he's brewed with these guys. It's www.koppi.se. So let's have a look. Swedish, is it Swedish? SE? I think it's Swedish. There you go, Mikkeller Coffee IPA. My final thoughts and a rating. Go and buy it. If you're a coffee drinker, fresh whole beans coffee in there without a shadow of a doubt. If you love your coffee, if you love your IPAs, if you want something a little bit different, then this could be the beer for you. I love both, so I cannot give this anything less than a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 beer for me, the Real Ale Guy. Put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to my daily beer reviews. Cheers.